It's a positive seed. Manifestation is based on what you believe. Outcome depends on how the situation perceived. But ain't no limit to what the power of the mind can achieve. Keep it going, never stopping, never slowing up.
What's up, guys? It's Nick and Devin. Welcome to another Tribe 11 podcast. And today we wanted to go over overtraining topics with you guys.
Overtraining may be something that you guys aren't noticing or realizing you're experiencing, being that you guys have a regular routine or keeping your workouts consistently, whether that be 3 to 4 to 7 days a week. But we're going to go over a couple of tips and tricks, as well as dive a little bit into what it is and how we can help avoid them.
Overtraining is associated with sports as well as just typical gym days, regular workouts. It can happen at any age. There's not a noted test or anything to say, yeah, you have overtraining syndrome, but there are some key factors and key signs that you can look for and maybe adjust your workout programming so that, you can help resolve the issue. One of the things that you'll notice is with overtraining, it's basically you're overdoing it. You're pushing your body past its normal limits, which is a good thing to an extent. But if you notice that you're not fully recovering and it's lasting weeks, months, or even years, and you're always in pain or feel like your body never really recovers, then you might need to readjust your programming or even readjust your strategy to hit your goals.
Try to keep in mind that everybody is different, everybody's body is different, which means my personal overtraining is going to be different from Devin's overtraining or your overtraining.
Nick's overtraining is working out with me.
Which means that you can't compare how you're feeling and how you're not progressing. But if you are working out too much or overtraining,
or even doing the same routine as someone else, like the amount of days and workouts as them, your body might be responding a little bit differently than theirs, and their body might have adapted to it where yours hasn't.
Exactly. Like Devin can be, he might be good to work out 6 to 7 days a week, and compared to, for example, to me, if it might be 3 to 4 days, up to 5 days for me, and if I try to push and exceed that, and that would be overtraining.
Yep, facts. But some of the things that you can, so some people that working out 7 days a week is okay. That doesn't mean you're overtraining. A lot of people you do need a rest day, your body needs to recover. It does need a rest day, but it doesn't need a rest day in the sense of you don't work out for a day, where that could be the case in your program, and that's fine. You could take a full-fledged rest day. That's not, a bad thing. But what a rest day really is if you hit chest today, I shouldn't be hitting chest tomorrow. My chest is taking a rest day the next day. Mm-hmm. You need, 24 to 36 hours, even some people up to 48 hours of rest for a certain muscle group. But that also pertains to the actual workout that you're doing. If you're doing resistance training, if you're doing HIIT training, you're doing strength training, if you're powerlifting, all those kind of workouts vary in the amount of time your body needs to rest in between muscle splits and muscle, groups that you target. So it's not to say that, you do need an actual rest day. It just means that, you should let your muscle groups rest, with a little bit of time in between.
Just an example to that is one of my buddies, he's actually getting ready to do a competition. And I was speaking to him, I think a couple of days ago, about his training regimen and muscle splits have been and how his rest days look like. So when he had brought it up to me that he was hitting a couple plateaus in a sense of his strength in his chest, his back area, I let him know too, how many rest days are you taking? He's like, I try to give it a one full day of kind of doing nothing. But then he'll notice that it's kind of harder to get him going again, back on routine the following day after the rest day. So I kind of just gave as a tip, why don't you try to do an active rest day? Meaning you don't necessarily have to incorporate your weight training or in your rest day, but do a 30 to 45 minute cardio, slow paced, something steady. So it still gets your heart rate going, but you're not putting your muscles in that kind of stress and giving them that opportunity to recover.
No, definitely. I mean, like I said, the muscle splits, and like Nick was talking about, like the muscle splits are huge. So if you're hitting chest, and let's say you're just hitting chest today, say don't hit chest tomorrow, but for certain workout groups and certain workout styles, like you can hit chest a couple different ways. And if you're not completely breaking down your chest in the sense of doing like hypertrophy like workouts, like bodybuilding style workouts, trying to gain size, and you're doing more hit workouts, the muscle response and the muscle demand is different. So you can do 7 days of full body, because at the end of the day, if it's full body, you're not doing a given muscle group to complete exhaustion. Like you'll be tired, but you're not going to be breaking down that muscle the same way you would be if you were doing bodybuilding, or the same way you would be doing if you're doing powerlifting. Also, what people tend to mistake, quote unquote, overtraining for is other factors in your day. Did you sleep well last night? Because if you didn't sleep your normal amount in hours, or if you just were tossing and turning all night, that could affect your performance in the gym. Did you wake up and you felt groggy? Did you get enough nutrition in and fluids yesterday and today? Because if your fuel isn't there, you're not going to have the energy. You're going to feel a little off. Are you battling anything in life, like major stressors, whether it's work, family, significant others? Because if your stress levels are up, you have other hormones that are running through your body, so it's going to again make you feel not working out and not optimizing your workouts because your body isn't at its 100%. Have you been dreading your workouts? Are you mentally drained? That could be huge. Are you sick? Are you getting sick? All these random things can affect your workout, or could affect a week's worth of workouts. So just because you have a little span of time where you're off, that doesn't mean necessarily overtraining. It could be other factors. So sometimes you got to take a step back and look at the big picture and be like, man, I've just been working more hours, or I've been stressed out, or I got family issues. So I think that's what the real thing is. I don't think I'm overtraining. I think my body is just not at its prime state right this second.
That doesn't mean also you got to baby yourself either. What I mean, it should be a self-honest analysis to be able to ask yourself, okay, am I actually feeling physically or mentally or emotionally exhausted to where it is going to hinder your performance in your workout? Or is it something where you're just feeling lazy for the day? You know what I mean? Because with, taking overtraining into consideration, you got to know as well when to draw the fine line of that. And you're just making excuses to get out of it too, to skip a couple workouts here and there, which is the complete opposite. So you got to find a middle point, or at least know yourself enough.
Yeah, if you want to take a rest day, take a rest day. You don't need to make up an excuse and be like, oh, my body needs it, because that might not be the case. Just be honest with yourself and tell yourself, if you want a rest day, take that rest day, but come back in the next day just as strong, or mentally checked in. Some of the symptoms of overtraining have been noticed from maybe a plateau or a decline in your workout performance, or even in your progress. A perception of increased exertion during your normal or quote unquote easier workouts. It, might feel a little bit harder to do the easy workout. Are you normally sweating? Even if you're a normally sweaty person, like, are you sweating more so now than you have been? Or if you're not a sweaty person, all of a sudden have you just been sweating or getting hot and overheating? Do you have any feelings like stiffness or soreness, or not like normal typical like stiffness and soreness and stuff from like you just worked out, but do you have like chronic like stiffness and soreness in like the muscles and joints?
Like it's achy, like it hurts,
yeah,
not soreness type.
Yeah. And then like if you can't feel like you can get a full and regular recovery after your workout, like let's say you hit legs, all of a sudden 2-3 days go by, that's normal to be sore for 3 days, but are you sore for a week? Are you sore for 2 weeks? And it's like, okay, then you might be going a little bit too hard during those workouts, whether drop the weight, drop the time intervals, whatever you do, because those kind of things, when you are going and you're pushing your body past the point of like pain, and you're like, I just need to suck it up, that's when sprains happen, tendonitis happens, stress fractures, and even just leading to chronic joint pain.
Yeah, like old injuries or anything that you currently or previously have been having trouble with, those things can arise, and if you don't take it into consideration, that will definitely hinder you from making progress, but you knock on wood, but may injure yourself further than what you're trying to recuperate from.
No, definitely. And I think that knowing your body and listening to your body is huge, but also you got to know how you feel and be in tuned in a sense to how you're feeling. Because if you're having a declined like enthusiasm for you going to the gym and you working out, like the results aren't even giving you enough motivation to get into the gym, and you're telling yourself you want to skip it, or you're making up excuses to skip workouts, or even quit working out for periods of time, then it's like, okay, maybe you need to be mentally checked back in, and you might be overtraining right now. Maybe that's what's leading to it. Maybe just tailor off a little bit. Don't quit or don't tailor back. Like maybe just go, instead of going 7 days a week, go 3 days a week, for a couple weeks. Try to get back into the swing of things.
Right. Or, you can also adjust, adapt to the, different feelings and situations that you're facing. Like if you are currently on a routine of weight training or resistance training and you are feeling like your muscles aren't recovering as quickly as they usually do, or your soreness is lasting longer than normal, switch it up a bit. 2-3 days out of the week, go for a hike. Something a little bit slower paced, where you're still moving, you're still being active, but at the same time, you're not, overtraining those certain muscles or the current split that you're on.
Yeah, because most people that overtrain, you can fit yourself into a lot of these categories that we're saying, but it's like, okay, are you just trying to fit it in because you don't want to suck it up, and suck up the physical pain, because it is physically painful and it is physically exhausting to work out. But at the end of the day, like your results and everything are the reason why. That's why you're doing it. So you go through that pain to get the reward, because if you were just given that reward, it wouldn't feel like a reward. If, like I like to say, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, but it's not. So know that and kind of just evaluate if you need to. I mean, some of the more concerning things like with your health would be like if all of a sudden you notice that your resting heart rate or resting blood pressure, it has been increasing. That's not normal. If you're losing excess weight and you can't stop your weight loss, or vice versa, you can't stop your weight gain, then it's like, okay, like you need to readjust your program. Whether it's your nutrition or your workouts, like maybe we need to figure it out. Like what's going on? Like what is your goal? What's the missing factor, or what's the missing ingredient in your current recipe to get to your end goal? Other things. Nick has this, but it doesn't have to do with overtraining. If you have any bowel movement issues, Nick tends to have them when he runs, but it's a runner's stomach is like what he likes to call it. I'm just kidding, it is a real thing. But no, if on a real note, if you're having bowel issues, in the sense of like diarrhea or constipation, or you're just not hungry, lose appetite, or you're thirsty all the time, like that's something you need to address with your nutrition. But it also could be a sign that you might be overtraining. You might want to look at it, but at the same time, it's not saying that it means you're overtraining. This is like, it's one of those things where there's all these different factors, but these factors, it doesn't mean like if you have one thing or you fit into one category, all of a sudden you're overtraining. It's just, okay, if you have multiple factors or multiple symptoms, it's like, okay, maybe you should look at your program.
Right. It's signs. Your body is giving you signs, different ones, and when it is giving you a sign, it's time to listen, because your body everybody's body responds differently to different things, different training and different types of exercises. So when it is telling you something, you should definitely listen, because it's signaling something to you that you should address and or change.
And if you feel like you are overtraining and you feel that maybe you do need to, address it, then it's like, okay, the first steps, I would say would be first rest, in the sense of take a couple days off, let your body fully recoup. You can take a full day off, or instead of hitting the gym, go on a hike for a couple days, like do something where you're out and about, try to get a little bit more sleep, 7 to 9 hours about, for those days, and let your body fully recover. Really look at your nutrition, make sure you're getting the right amount of protein in, make sure you're not skipping out on your carbs, because that will help in your energy and recouping those energy stores. And then honestly, just rethink your whole program, whether it's your nutrition is your issue, workouts are your issue, it might be a combination of both. But sometimes, talking to a trainer at your gym or your local gym, or even, an online trainer or something, like get some advice from somebody, because there's so much on the internet that sometimes you're overloaded with the right answer, and there's 10 different answers that all could be the right answer, but does it mean it's the right answer for you? Not necessarily. Everybody's body's different, and there's 100 ways to get to the same goal. So someone has to look at it with you if you're not able to do it yourself, which is honestly might be a good thing, because it is a lot easier looking at someone else's program than your own, because mentally you get in your own head and you're like, no, it has to be done this way. I don't want to bitch out, but that's not always the case.
I mean, just an example, when I sleep, most people underestimate the significance of your recovery and avoiding overtraining with sleep. When you're asleep, your body literally shuts down, and that's the time that it's able to recuperate. You know what I mean? Where you're at rest. Same thing. It is also back to with nutrition, and if you're not getting enough sleep, you can obviously not completely replace the recovery you get from sleeping enough. Being able to properly fuel your body with enough nutrients can also help with its recovery.
So as you can see, there's a lot of different signs, symptoms for overtraining, but it is a thing that you will have to look at yourself. If you go to the doctors, there's not a test that they can give you to test your max training rate like they do a heart rate test. So an overtraining test isn't really a thing. It's one of those things where you just have to evaluate yourself. You have to know yourself. So if you think you're overtraining, maybe you are, maybe you're not. Maybe you are just mentally drained, or maybe you're just giving yourself an excuse and you need to man or woman up. But at the end of the day, if you do want someone to go over it with you, ask a trainer at your local gym, or ask a trainer at whatever your gym is, or ask someone on Instagram that you follow. There's so many people out there that can definitely help you, but make sure whoever you do ask is someone that knows what they're talking about and is not just a gym bro or gym girl that looks good, so you just assume they know what they're talking about. Ask someone that they're giving information already, and that have been giving content out, or giving you advice that is actual advice before just listening to them and going off their program. Because if it's not someone that knows what they're talking about, I guarantee you they're just regurgitating other information that they've heard from someone else, and they don't realize that each person is different. Each person's body is going to be different. Results are different. That needs to be taken into consideration. But with that being said,
we hope you guys found this episode helpful. And if there's any other topics you guys or questions you guys want us to cover, don't be afraid to drop it in our DMs on Instagram or in person as well. We definitely appreciate it, and we want to try to help cover as many topics and advices as you guys want.
Or you can shoot us an email. You can go to the strive11fitness.com and you can hit the contact button and send us an email and let us know any questions you guys got, anything you want us to cover, and we'd be more than happy to go with that. All right, see you guys next time.
Later.